Good evening. So, please continue eating. Don't let me interrupt your eating here now because frankly, I debated, what should I talk about tonight? And so I could have said, well, maybe I should talk about smart grid or smart metering, but frankly, you've heard it all before and probably heard it several times. So I'm taking a little bit different view. And I want to comment on some of the things I've heard about our industry. And having come from the industry myself, I spent 25 years at Southern Company, so I still feel like, I am part of the utility industry, and ever since then, my career has been in some form or another in the utility industry. So I'm going to tell you, that hurt. Can you guys control that? Okay, good. So I want to tell you a little bit about why I'm so optimistic about the utility industry. But first, this. Do you recognize this guy? Our host here tonight. And I want to brag about him a little bit because, we kind of have an awards night, and just coming off of an awards night last night, so we're very much in keeping with that same vein now here. But that's something very distinguished about Marty and his EnergyBiz magazine. You see the Eddie Award here, the Gold Winner Award with that, which is given for editorial excellence. And so I believe this is 2010 that he's won it yet again. And this is the 5th year in a row that Marty has won, and that magazine has won that award. So Marty, congratulations one more time. You're a credit to our industry. So now, you've heard about the brief history of time. I'm going to do a brief history of our industry, a very brief history of our industry, because there's a story in here, and I think there's a moral in here too that I think is very relevant to where we are today in the industry. So where did we start? And I'm hoping many of you today is that this is kind of be a quiz, that you know some of this, and of course some of you young whippersnappers in the room, this will probably be new for you. But it really is, where did the utility industry model first start? And so we go back to the time of Edison. I'm sure you've heard about Edison and the electric light. He invented the electric light and many other things too. So Edison was looking for, okay, I've got this great thing called the electric light, but how do I get it to the people that really need it? That kind of sound familiar today about, we have capabilities, but how can we embrace the customer and engage the customer with this? And so Edison had the same problem too. And he quickly realized that he had to put the infrastructure in place, in fact, to deliver that capability to the homes around there. And so he did. This is the Pearl Street generating station, which I know you could say this was kind of the seed of the beginning of Consolidated Edison. It was up in New York, as a matter of fact, in the Manhattan area. And so the idea was to have a central generation that he could then deliver electricity to people that wanted to use his lighting with that. Now, here's an interesting part to that. Why would you think that was a disruptive technology? We talk a lot today about disruptive technologies. What did it disrupt? Any ideas? Gas lighting, very good. That man gets a prize back there. Okay, so that was the easy answer. Give me number 2. Distributed generation. Have we come full circle? To that time, what Edison had to do was they had to have generations within the environments that they were trying to put the electric lights in. So there was a lot of cases of in buildings or in particular areas there that they had generation just for that specific area. And so it was fairly modest at that particular point in time. It was 59 customers, and they only could deliver it within a few blocks of that particular area. And interesting, in today's terms, he delivered that energy and so I did the research on this, 24 cents per kilowatt hour. So a little bit expensive at the time, but high value to all of that. And then the primary target was lighting and then electric customers. Okay, now, so there's that. Utility industry starting already, technology, and getting the leadership to say how we're going to leverage this technology for our customers. So let's move forward in time. Recognize these guys, anyone? Tesla, Westinghouse. So What they wanted to do was solve the problem of the limitation at the time of being able to deliver a large quantity of energy over a larger distance than just being within a few blocks. And so what happened there is that in a combination that Westinghouse built the hydroelectric generation station in the Niagara Falls area. But he had the issue about, well, how am I going to get it to the area that I want to deliver it to, which is Buffalo at the time, approximately 20 miles away. And the limitation was what? Why could they know? What was his limitation to doing that? Huh? DC, that's right. There's no Edison, and there was a big controversy between Westinghouse and Edison about what was the best way to do that, AC or DC. And so Edison, still felt like DC was the right thing. But anyway, George Westinghouse, along with Tesla, who was the guy that helped move the AC forward, made all that happen too. And so that really was when things started really taking off at that point. And time was saying we can have central generation, we can deliver it, and there was a slight decrease in all that to do that again. But here it is again, of embracing the leadership, embracing new technology, for the benefit of customers, and knowing to then therefore move the model forward with that. So, one more time. So now, do you recognize any of these guys? A little bit more obscure in this particular case, because I'm kind of changing, a little bit of the direction with this now. At the time, it was hard to achieve scale with this because the method of generating electricity was what? A reciprocating type of turbine. Things moving up and down in this direction right here too. And so what they had to have was these massive generators that were noisy, difficult to maintain, always having to be tuned and kept right. Parsons came along and said, there's a better way to do this, and so that's the idea of rotary generation, which then revolutionized the industry. Again, new technology coming into place, making things better with that, to do that. And so that was, you'd be able to build much smaller footprints, much more efficient engines in order to generate electricity. They were much easier to maintain, so on too. And you could build lots greater quantities on a smaller footprint with that. And so all that was could be applied to what energy was being used for. But that's not the end of the story. Samuel Insull. He was a guy that really put this together. Now, he did some things around some creative ideas, but what he was, well, number one, does anyone know what his first job was? That's right, he was a stenographer to who? Thomas Edison. That's right, he was a stenographer to Thomas Edison with that. So a little bit of humble beginnings there, but he got the idea and about the capability of this technology. And so, in fact, what he started was what I guess you could say today is Commonwealth Edison in Chicago. And the idea was to say, we need to do some consolidation of all of this, bring much better quantities to go get the economies of scale and all of this. So it really was the business leadership and the business acumen and the thinking about all of this to move all of this forward. So it was not only the technology, which today I would submit, we have a lot of technology, a lot of good technology, and of course, being a technologist myself, I certainly have bought into that. Okay, so now, I think you can understand what the rest of the story is from this. That from then on, the model was in place. It was just a matter of getting the coverage across the nation. And it did. It spread quite rapidly into the first half of the 20th century of all the conveniences that could be brought to bear and utilize this electric technology for the fact of electricity and all the things that it brought. Convenience. It got rid of some of the misery of life and so on by doing all that, enabled by electricity and the ability to deliver some of that. To say nothing, of the fact that it did what it did to in the medical area and making all the research of that. But the whole idea is, and this frankly troubles me just a little bit, that it was brought about by making things more convenient and easier to do and making it life much better, for consumers in the marketplace. It did, it certainly did things for manufacturing and so on also. But it really was a very positive story, and it grew at a very rapid rate. Now, I'm not being Pollyanna about this. I know that in the first half of that century, things were boom years, and we did a lot with that, and knowing it really was expanding. And a few of us were around when some of that actually happened. But then the 70s came along and a little bit of the 80s, and things kind of got a little bit screwy around that time frame. But we got through that too, with all that too. Now, I have read articles, and that always upset me about the utility industry, is that at this point in time they say, well, you're still delivering, and the utility model is the same thing that was back during this era, right? Have you seen that? Say, no, well, things really have not changed much since Thomas Edison. Okay, I can get that. I understand that. So I kind of equate that to transportation. I think we still do transportation with wheels, right? Okay, well, I think you can be pretty ridiculous about that analogy. So I did a little bit of something else. And I only gave one example because I don't want to get this thing too tiresome tonight about me going on and talking about all the things that have happened since then. So I just did a little survey, and I only did it in one specific area here. All the things that happened in that next part of that century there that have been come about in the utility industry around distribution, and the list just goes on and on and on. I'm not going to talk about all of these because it would get too long and boring. But there has been advances in technology, advances in capability that go on and on with all of that. Okay, so now let's get back to modern times. So here we are now with, again, new technology, new capability. In this case, we're calling it the smart grid. And so what's going to happen now? So I think to me, it's like history is somewhat repeating itself. In my opinion. I've always been a student of history, and I love going back and looking at that and looking for the patterns in history. And I'm saying, I see this repeating again. We had no Edison, then we had Insull, and all with that, taking advantage of the possibility of the technology with that. Are we going to see that again? Do we have the technology? Well, I'm here to tell you that it's not completely refined yet. It's not all completely proved out yet, but guess what? It's technology, Moore's law, the other laws that apply to that. It's getting better every day. It's getting cheaper. It's getting faster, on and on and on with that. I think we can solve the part of the technology, but what do we need? Now, what did Insull provide that was kind of, they had Edison and all the others doing the inventions and Parsons and so on, but what did we need? We need the leadership to understand how to embrace that and to take it and carry it forward. And so now that really is kind of where I feel the most optimistic about this today, is that look at the people, I think, that we have. Some of the people there have been through some of these times, where we've had to embrace the past technology. And I believe now, and I know some of these people personally, and why I'm so up on this industry today is that we are having the leadership. There's coming in new leadership into this that understand and can be just as capable of embracing that technology as we did in the earlier days with that. I see nothing there that's going to prevent us from taking the same ideas. Is it going to be easy? Do we have some of the same challenges? I submit back in those days there were some insurmountable challenges about how do we expand that network and build that network of delivery of energy that probably I would submit is probably just as daunting as it is today. Now, maybe regulation and so on like that is a little different, but I feel confident that we do have the right people there that's going to take us into that new era. So thank you. That's my message. I hope it's kind of brief and to the point with all of this. So please enjoy your meal now.